And I'm joined now by economist Professor Ken IFE. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight. So we've seen this pattern before, but let me ask you, I mean, what in your professional view is driving the Naira's rally that we have seen in recent times? Is it really due to genuine economic reforms or speculative trading by hedge funds, like some analysts are speculating, quick profits into the market and then withdrawal, and then Naira crashes? What exactly is happening here?
What we have a plethora of measures, policy measures. Looking at where we started with multiple exchange rates. We started with $7 billion of forex backlog. We had to attend to the emergency of sorting out the airlines, but there was a forensic investigation to get to the bottom of it. At least you now know that 2.4 billion of those are questionable. And we are settling as we are coming to the close. We are paying out as we are going along. And also don't forget that we have bills, servicing of the loans. Some of those dollar-denominated loans have to be serviced. You have profit taking at this time of the year. You have profit taking, and then you also have the maturing securities. Remember, we had a net forex inflow of about 245%, over $5 billion compared to the corresponding period last year. So this money is coming; they have to go. But I think there's also another thing. The crazy importation of 200 million liters of petrol, what do you think that's going to come from? Wherever that money is sourced, and whoever gave that license for them to buy it, that money will eventually find its way to depletion of our reserves. Because you go and buy the money in the market, whatever you do, the reserve will also kick in to defend the Naira at this moment.
Indeed, because... Go ahead, land on that point.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that it's a work in progress. Yes, it was 39.1, but today it was over $40 billion. So there's accretion. And this is under control, because don't forget, this new administration got a handle on NNPC Forex coming through. 3 years, NNPC won't let a dime come to central bank. But with this new administration that is passing through, which means you could have some accretion to the excess crude, some accretion to the reserves, and then many other measures. Most of the measures that have kicked in are on the demand side and also on the supply side. The supply side are more pronounced because, remember, we began by securitization of crude revenue, securitization of gas revenue. So that freed cash to deal with the urgent situations around certain areas. Then you also have measures like the IMT, International Monetary Transfer Organization's relaxation of the restrictions, because they had a narrow corridor on their rates. So that was relaxed. So more people started coming in. There were reforms around the diaspora remittance. You also have some recent policy measures on the non-oil remittances.
So there's a bit more transparency.
There's a lot, I mean, even when it comes talking about transparency,
yes,
there's even more transparency with the forest code.
Great.
Because that is the ultimate. That is where you are now saying what we've been doing on commercial banks, which is using prudential guidelines and risk-based supervision. We have now come down to do management of the forex.
Indeed. Some have credited the B-Match platform and the FX code by the CBN to some of the transparency.
The FX code is far more pronounced because this is a regulatory framework, robust regulatory framework, which began by saying, look, this is a self-assessment template, assess yourself, and make sure that the management, the board, is having a look in, and then give it to us, and then we'll inspect you based on your returns on a quarterly basis.
I mean, the Naira...
That is pervasive.
Yeah, the Naira has gained about 9% since December.
No, it will do better.
It will do better. So you don't think this is a short-term bubble?
No.
Because you recall, I mean, you've referenced it, but this time last year, we also saw the Naira gaining ground. And then about March, May, we saw that sharp reduction, just as sharp as it rose early in the year. When investors pulled out their funds, of course, risk management come into play there. So you don't think this is a pattern repeating itself?
You see, there are cyclical things we have to live with. Every month, the governors collect their facts, and then the following day, you see a spurious demand for forex. I began to understand some of those monies were needed to pay some of the foreign firms that are working for them that have to be settled. So I can understand that. But you also saw the one I mentioned about the crazy. I call it crazy for you to be importing 200 million liters of fuel and they are not just high quality fuel, they are substandard fuels being dumped into the economy for two reasons. Either they are predatory pricing to destroy the capacity that are being built in the country.
Locally.
Yeah, locally. And then those ones being built, both the Bodula refinery and Dangote, they are even exporting and to earn dollars. And now you have this coming in, you can't certify the quality. And some of those quality are so suspect, destroying cars, high, even their sulfur content exceeds the ECOWAS limit.
So it makes no economic sense. They are trying to grow local production, and the NNPCL still goes to import
No,
this,
I don't think NNPC has denied that they didn't. It wasn't them. So I couldn't say that.
I mean,
but somebody has given license for some people to import this. And I think the president needs to understand that he has to stop this. Because that is destroying all the work he's done for 2 years.
Why do you think anybody would do that? Why would anybody grant licenses? I mean, there's only one government agency that is allowed to grant license to importers in this country. So it's not as if it's a ghost. There's only one agency that can do that.
The ministry. Ministry, yeah. That we know.
So why do you think
but the thing is that it is against the law. The PIA says you can only import when there is deficiency in local production capacity, and there is no such thing. So what is bringing in is what we call surplus to requirement, and it is contriving against the smooth. This is what I describe as fiscal dominance over monetary policy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say rascality, but okay. I thought you were going to say rascality. Of course, and some have complained about the pressure this importation in the last how many weeks will put on our foreign reserves.
It does. It does. And it has to stop because it's against the law. Okay. And you are delivering sustainable quality of product that we couldn't see international recognized standard that will say this is within this limit, sulfur limit, within that. And then we've got a case where we had so much ethanol, far more ethanol. So the destruction on people's generator and on the engines and the health, is incalculable.
It makes no sense indeed. But let me ask you, because some have said if you're going to look at the sustainability of this Naira gain, then we need to look at the variables such as inflation, the foreign direct investment, our forex earnings, because we talk about the demand and supply side. When you look at these variables, I mean, our inflation is still very high, particularly when it comes to food inflation. The FDIs, yes, we've seen inflows coming, but how sustainable are those to ensure that this Naira gain we are seeing continues?
No, I just mentioned a few of the supply side, but there's a lot of measures on the demand side. We also have things like even the inflation itself. The inflation there's tightening, inflation tightening, and that means that the MPR rates had to go up because of the differential between the MPR rate and the inflation. That means we're in the negative real interest rate, so they have to go up. And as they're going up, they're sending signal to foreign portfolio investment, and you saw how that increased by over 70%. But then when they come, they also have to cash their money after a year or whatever, so you could also see some of the depletion. In addition to profit taking in addition of end, so you will see some of that dynamics. But there are policies that are yielding fruits. For example, the oil gas products, if they are sold, they must be returned within 90 days. Non-oil are given out to 180 days. Yeah. So that, you know what that means? When you are allowing them to hold that money can go to spot market. The spot market, and then also you could see the Euro bonds earning about 10%. So somebody holding that money for 6 months or more, you know how much dollar they would earn. So it was necessary that they plug that hole. And there's so many holes being plugged by the central bank policies that are sustainable. Apart from the fact that they're also mopping up excess liquidity. Our GDP was growing around 2%, 2 to 3%, but the credit flow to the private sector was going to about 13%. And then now it was even made worse by 33 trillion. of
Yeah.
the ways and means. So they have to continue to mop up that. And of course, you have to see CRR go up to 50%, which means every 100 Naira you give to a bank, 50 Naira will be sanitized.
Interesting.
Somewhere.
It's interesting.
And then also,
it's interesting. I do apologize. It's interesting you bring up that because I think on Wednesday, that's about 48 hours from now, the MPC, the CBN,
going to meet.
MPC will be meeting for this month. What do you think their decisions will be? I mean, you're telling them to tighten. Is that what you're saying?
I will be surprised if they
rates.
relax. I will be surprised if they relax, because there's still some way to go. So I think, in my own judgment, I think they could still hike a little bit or stay steady. But to bring it down will be sending a wrong signal to the market.
And finally, before we go, we've talked about the concerns about the depletion of the reserves. It's hovering around 39, 40 billion at the moment.
Over 40 billion
Over 40
today.
billion. Some will say the CBN has relaxed in defending the Naira as it used to do. But when we see all of these factors playing out, how much do you think will happen? What do you think will happen in subsequent months to come for us to see this Naira continue to gain? Would there be more defense of the Naira by the CBN?
No, see,
through our
when
reserves?
the CBN has got a handle on the overall forex management, because it's not just the banks. We have independent, we have other people licensed under the CBN Act as well as Buffy Act of 2020. So there are a lot more players involved in foreign exchange. So what they have done is to now get on top of regulatory stance on them. Is now regulating them properly. And that means there's more transparency, there's more accountability, there is also more privacy. The investors are now beginning to come to the channel.
There's more confidence in the market.
There's more confidence in the market.
Great. We're focusing
So
so much
that is going to be sustainable. It's the same thing as prudential guidelines in the banking sector. Nobody talks about that.
All right.
There are two mandates for central bank. One is price stability. The other one is financial system stability. They have used that to maintain that stability. And nobody even talks about that.
It does look like the CBN has done a lot in the monetary aspect, but a lot still needs to be done on the fiscal angle of it. Well, Professor Ken Ife, I'm sure we'll bring you back sometime when the MPC meets, perhaps later in the week or some other time, for more conversation on the Nigerian economy and the Naira in particular. Well, Professor Ken Ife is an economist, and thank you once again for joining us.